The following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither this station nor its owners and agents shall be held liable for the content of this program, rebroadcast, redistributed or reused, without express written permission by host or producer is not allowed.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hollywood Red Carpet Show. I'm here with a wonderful guest this evening. His name is David Pierce Monroe. He is the nephew of the wonderful, beautiful Marilyn Monroe, and he's a producer, an actor, and quite a lot more. So welcome to the show, David.
How you doing today, Debbie? And Mark, not a cloud on the horizon. Business is going off well as planned. How are you folks back in Maine and down in Texas?
It's been great, actually. Except for today we had an overcast, but who cares? It's weather. It'll be nice tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, today and tomorrow's another day. You know, I lived up in Poughkeepsie, New York for a while up there in upstate, about an hour and a half north of the city, and, you know, western Massachusetts and Boston and that, and Providence, Rhode Island, and some of those places back. So I love New England, you know. I've lived there, you know, and I love New York.
No.
You know, I can eat a whole pizza pie in one sitting. You know, nothing like a New York slice, huh?
I've only had the Philadelphia cheesesteak when it comes to food from the state, and I did eat a big meal with some people from South Carolina, and they eat lots of awesome different stuff, like a big smorgasbord. But anyways, so tell me, David, is that where you grew up?
No, actually, I grew up out here in California, in La Crescenta, California. My hometown, my Aunt Marilyn Monroe's hometown, whether you can wrap your head around that or not, that's where we grew up here. And Glendale. See, I'm the nephew of Marilyn Monroe actor soundtrack. I'm also the grandson. Our grandfather was Jack Stubbs, prolific pioneer and Hall of Fame legendary motion picture director. Best of friends with Walt Disney, the man, and his sister Ruth. He was Elizabeth Taylor's booking agent and talent manager, as well as Mickey Rooney's booking agent and talent manager. They referred to the three, Walt Disney, my grandfather Jack Stubbs, and Mickey Rooney on the studio lots back in the day, as the three amigos. You see, Mickey Rooney was a voiceover actor for Walt Disney and about 400 Disney characters. And that was my grandfather's client, Mickey Rooney. And best friend, we used to frequent each other's homes on a daily basis. You know, we weren't just working in projects together on films or, you know, that not meeting each other. We were like a family, offset. You know, frequenting each other's homes. Like my grandmother June was, you know, changing the Rooney boys' diapers and things back in the day, you know. And Marilyn Monroe was actually dating Mickey back in 1949, if you recollect. So our families, you know, mirrored family, you know, and that's how that went down back in the day. Between my grandfather, Mickey Rooney, Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland,
They always think friendship's small and tight and trustworthy because there's so many people that back then, you know, there's so many people that want to steal the spotlight from them because they are so famous.
Well, you know, I mean, my grandfather cast all the icons in films he directed. He did a tremendous amount of work with Judy Garland. Click your heels, Toto. We've got to get home to Kansas. Yeah, down the Yellow Brick Road. Yeah, and you know they had the Flying A Studios up in Santa Barbara where they pumped out, 3 or 4 films a month. It seemed like they were doing back then. You know, they did Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz. You know, a couple of projects with John Wayne and that back in the day. You know, and up here in Glendale and Lockwood Center where they filmed E.T. back in 1978, Poltergeist, Chips with Eric Estrada. Sons of Anarchy and things. My grandfather went to high school with John Wayne down here at Glendale High. And he told me John Wayne used to drink 2 fists of Jack Daniels every day. And so if you notice in the last Rooster Cogburn film, as John is passing away from stomach cancer in real life, in the last film, he's dying of stomach cancer. And he gets shot in the back by a bandit in the tavern, in the saloon. And Ronnie Howard, who's also from Glendale, and he's got a place out here, Opie and, Happy Days and that. You remember those guys, right? Yes. I lived about 2 blocks from Scottsdale, or growing up here in La Crescenta. He lived up on Evelyn in Pennsylvania. I lived on Ensenada, Pennsylvania. And so, Charles in Charge and Chachi from Happy Days. And so you see how these aren't coincidences, that we have connections in our family. And so, and then Ronnie came in and he shot the bandit, that killed John Wayne in the last Rooster Cogburn film. So these are like true events, inspired through my family history and connections and old school Hollywood that actually happened on film and were predicated on events that actually happened in real life. In particular, John Wayne, the Duke.
What rich history you have and all these amazing people that you connected to. Your family is basically like an old school Hollywood family.
Well, we are Hollywood, My grandfather was a prolific pioneer in the Hall of Fame legendary motion picture director that never got credits. Uncredited, all of them.
That's sad.
Except one was Love is the Many Splendored Thing, 1955 film with Jennifer Jones and William Holden, which was the best picture. It was nominated for 615, including 3 Oscars. And would you believe my grandfather was the only man that didn't get the Academy Award on the film? All that artwork and art direction, Rainer and Padcheks, but that was a great film, the 1955 film. Love is the Many Splendored Thing, if you remember that. That was the best film of the year. Great deal.
Now, growing up, when did you know that you got kind of like the bug for filming and movies, and because you're moving in that direction, and so how soon did you know that this was your calling too?
Well, I started this project about 4 years ago, and my acting career in motion picture and entertainment industry, and so Debbie, I discovered there are a lot of things in my family that were hidden from me. Like my dad, he was a bad guy. He used to drive the big pink Cadillac Eldorado, and he was a pimp and a coke dealer for the Kennedys. Okay, and so he was a bad guy. He hung out with these bikers up here in Tujunga and this area up here, and real roughneck Sicilian and Italian guys, man, and just a real rough crowd of people, man. And so my father took things to his deathbed, and he was hiding something. You see, he worked for those fellows. And so there's been a lot of sabotage and tragedy that's happened in rapid succession in my life and my family. And, everyone in my family was just, they hated me because my grandfather loved me, Jack, He even at one time lived in West LA he bought a house on David Street because he loved me so much. And so, a lot of tragedy happened, succession and sabotage in my family. And so my dad I had to pull things out of him when I was deathbed. You know, I had to tell him, look, Dad, you know, if you don't tell me who my family is, I'm going to take a ball bat and drag you out of that bed and beat you to death with it. Right now, you're going to tell me. And so on his deathbed, I had to drag these images out of him and these YouTube videos and things and have him point out my family members. These are things that my dad concealed. My whole family sabotaged me. They didn't want to tell me anything. And so I've had to develop all of this on my own with no help from no one, no family members. They're either dead or we don't talk or whatever, not good people. A very dysfunctional family. And so then we'll go back and we'll talk about Gladys Pearl.
You decided at some point you wanted to create something because of your history and the people that you're related to. And you wanted to create a movie.
Well, and so you've actually helped me with that screenplay of Marilyn Monroe's Revenge. And what a great deal. Okay, so, I've shared a lot of my family history with you, not enough to give it all away, my family secrets, but be able to, prove that this is real and this is what we're doing here. And so, as you can feel as a director of vision, anyone in the motion picture industry can feel my vision. Okay, so my aunt was murdered and things, and so that's all public information now. And, so as her nephew, and I make horror films with one of Marlon Brando's daughters, by the way, Ozankas, down in North Carolina. We made a film entitled Psycho War in 2023 at the Brookhaven Sanitarium, where you check in and you don't check out. And so that is a prequel to the ideology of Marilyn Monroe's Revenge, right? And so, and you helped me out with that tremendously, Debbie, sharing, and you're a great writer. You've been doing this for 20 years, you know everybody, you interview everybody on the show. And so, and she was like, Dave, well, how about if we take the picture of you, about you, being born by, Marilyn's bastard son, who they have her under, medication and drugged up while she's giving birth. And so they take the child away from her. And they take it down to the Rockhaven Sanitarium, put him in the basement to be done away with. Right? Let's get rid of this guy. Give him some concrete boots, dump him in the Hudson, New York, right? And so they take me in there, and there's a cannibal family inside the Psycho Ward, which is prequel to Psycho Ward 2023. And so they decide not to eat me, but to adopt me and put me in a cage like in The Devil's Rejects. You remember when they took them in there and they have those women in these cages and they're cattle prongers.
Yes.
And they take me down there and they torture me and they feed me flesh to develop me into a cannibal like them, right? This inbred North Carolina family, the Brookhaven, in the basement. And so these time traveler people come through from 1962, and they decide, hey man, this is, Marilyn Monroe's nephew, we're going to go down here. And so they come back through time in this porthole, and they go down into the basement, and she befriends the family and gives them money and things. So I've got to go see this boy, I've got this, these pictures and things I want to show. Oh, sure, So she gives him a bunch of money, and she goes down and talks to me. And she's talking to me, and she's like, shows me these pictures of my aunt. And she says, do you know who you are? Do you know who this is? And so she pays him some more money to take me out of the basement through the porthole in 1962. And we collect my aunt's murderers. And we bring them back through the porthole into our little entertainment party that we're having going on at the Woods of Terror in Greensboro, North Carolina. Yes, at the exact replica of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre House. Yes. And I'll build an awning out there. We'll build a platform. My grandfather was the great American set decorator, right? Jack Stubbs. We'll build a platform out there, and we'll put an electric chair up there. Yeah. And then we'll take them inside the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house with all the, bulls, skulls, and things hanging from the rafters with the chainsaws and things and all the bones around in the yard. And we'll go inside and we'll have a court hearing. And you'll be on the bench as my Aunt Mary Monroe and Mary Monroe's Revenge. And you'll, judge them in front of a jury. We'll have, of course, Leatherface will be there. And we'll have Pinhead, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason. Yeah, we'll all be hanging out there in the jury, and we'll find them guilty, you see. And then we'll take them out and take a good look at their eyeballs and their face when they come through that Stargate into our little entertainment party to be judged. And now we're going to take them out there on the gallows in front of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. And we're going to strap them in tight to the electric chair, you see. And Marlon Brando's daughter, Danielle, she'll take that little sponge and, dump it in the water and put it on their head and say, here's your last little choo-choo. And put it on their head and strap in the electrode and the sponge and strap them in tight. And flip the switch and, there won't be any mask over their head. My buddy Jake I went to high school with, lives a couple of blocks down the street, is Jean-Claude Van Damme's personal makeup artist. He does old school sci-fi practical effects. We sit down there in his garage. We watch all my grandpa's old movies, Planet of the Apes, $6 Million Man, Bigfoot. We look at all these sci-fi practical effects. We can make this happen. We can make it happen big, and it's going to be through my own personal contacts and people I went to high school with. They were big fans of my grandfather and have facilitated their art in motion picture industry and old school sci-fi practical effects. We can bring this to life. So there'll be no bag over their head. We'll watch their eyeballs bust out of their fucking head when we electrocute them up there in our entertainment party for our entertainment. Wouldn't you agree, Debbie?
I think that's going to be crazy. I think it's interesting. It's going to be something. Let's just say. But you were in that movie Psycho Ward. What was your character, and what was it that you actually were doing in that film?
I was Tom, a psychotic cannibal that lived in the basement and ate you. Yeah. Danny Ann Bazonkas, Marlon Brando's daughter, would come and feed me people. And we would eat you. She and my couple of brothers down there in the Brookhaven Sanitarium, yes.
You've worked with her on that film, and she's done a few other films, and I just want to give her some awesome credit because she does a wonderful job. And she knows how to get her work on networks. And I think that's hugely impressive.
Danny Ann's a hard worker, man, and she's got a great mind and a great vision as a director in certain genres and ideology in the motion picture industry. If you're a fan, sci-fi, horror type stuff, and, we got some great stuff, and also, gangster type stuff. She's sitting on Tom Sizemore's last film, before he passed away from an aneurysm and mob humor. And if you remember Tom, he was a great guy. I was dabbling with some actors and actresses out here in Hollywood that were coercing me to join Tom's acting school in Beverly Hills. And so, right before I was about to go down there and hang out with these people down here, he passed away from an aneurysm. And I was like, man, wow. What a great guy.
Before he passed away,
good looking.
We became friends. Very people person, and I was going to interview him, and he was all ready for it. We were good to go, and the sad thing happened to him. But I'll never forget the fact that we were friends. We talked, and he was wicked nice to me. And for an actor of his caliber, to be so nice to a fan or to, just people that were interested in his career and what he did. He really embraced that, and I really love that about him as an actor, as a person. He was genuine, and I love that, and I wish more people were like that, because I think that pushes you further, internationally and with people, and we understand, we're all humans, and he was not above his status as a person. He's always a gentleman.
Well, I believe that working with people in the entertainment business, you want to sit down at the table, shake their hand, eat dinner with them, meet the family and things, and, become very personal with them.
Yeah.
So,
I think
going to work, you've got to know they've got a great character and they're good people.
I believe that it can be a lonely world for some people because they're not with their families when they're doing the work, but they're doing the work to help benefit certain things. Movies have points. Most movies, TV shows, there's some kind of a point behind the subject, and a lot of times it's a very important thing. So just being part of the craft and the art is amazing, and you spread your wings in that natural direction.
Yeah, like Chris Sagler in Anderson County. He's a people person too. He was in the Bosch commercial in front of millions of people in 2025 Super Bowls, Macho Man Randy Savage. People like that, people like us, independent filmmakers, right? And Denny Ann, Marlon Brando's daughter. We give you, we school you, motion picture industry. Like Chris was saying in our last interview, why should you have to go to film school when you have a black magic camera and you can do whatever you want? In this business, if you're in this business, to direct and score and, create films and things, and, make movies, the facilitation process, the motion picture industry, we take you down on set, whether in background or what. Brad Pitt was in background in probably 20 films before he got out of his car and dressed up in a chicken suit in front of Hollywood and Vine promoting for El Pollo Loco Chicken. So stories like that. And now look at Brad Pitt. He produced The Blonde in 2022 for $22 million, predicated on fiction. My films are based on fact. And so we have this entertainment network amongst ourselves, and a network that I built of, independent filmmakers that make good quality projects. They're not bad projects. They're like these plastic people, and you can't remember your lines and things. You can't, method or dramatize the film or the screenplay. You can't feel it. It's not your vision. So, you don't belong there. But people who can feel the vision, feel the pain, feel the legacy of Marilyn Monroe, can feel my films. They can feel my vision.
You are
can feel
opportunities.
What I'm doing.
But David, you're on an opportunity to be a part of your film.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. So we've got 6 Marilyn Monroe genre films under contract to be made, and I've signed NDAs with my multi-award-winning film composer Mariano Solano. The Argentina folks over in Calabasas at Pioneer Studios. They're absolutely fabulous, great people. And, Mariano's a big fan of my, grandfather and our family and, the lineage, motion picture industry, everything, our family's put together. And he wins the award for, the best film composer almost every year, for films. And he's done over 100 films. So, multi-award-winning film composers and names like that are attached to these projects. So they're designed for success, you see. And so I've got Marilyn Monroe's Revenge, which you'll be starring as Marilyn in the courtroom inside the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. And then we've got the Monroe Universe, Justice League. which I can tell you how that developed and how that's my inherited intellectual property. You see, my grandfather, he called me Honey. And he says, Honey, he says, I've seen this guy, parading up and down Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset in front of the RCA building, which is the LA Film School now, and Men's Chinese Theater, arrayed in a Captain America's uniform with a makeshift shield acting like Captain America. It says, honey, I saw that guy out there for 2 years. He says, that really inspired me. He says, you know what, I'm going to go out and get that guy, and we're going to create a Captain America film. And that is how the Marvel Universe was given birth on film in 1978. The first colored version, and an inspiration by an actor that my grandfather decided to create. And now, if you see the canon, the Avenger posters and things, who's right in the middle? Captain America, right? Okay, so that's where it all started. So we are the pioneers. My family are the godfathers of the Marvel Universe genre, you see. And so, if you look at my grandfather's IMDb, it's a mile long. If you go into the written version, it's a mile long. They're all, Academy Award-winning, Oscar-winning, Best Pictures, big screen pictures, projects, coming out of your ears. And so, I can recreate those any way I wish, as my inherited intellectual property. So, I'll run you down the screenplay of who I am in my life. You see, my grandfather, Jack Stubbs, legendary films director, created all these pioneering projects, giving Hollywood the great name that they have today, all of the studios, casting all the icons and films he directed, giving them a great name, molding their stars on Hollywood Boulevard, right? And so, as my grandfather, he purchased a special aircraft from the Royal Air Force and was unable to put it into service before he passed away. And me, as the sole operator of the inherited aircraft, I have been briefed into a special flight mission in Hollywood, if you will.
It's a good feeling.
A special flight mission, and so Hollywood is indebted to my grandfather for what he did, and me as the sole operator of the inherited craft. I have been briefed into a special flight mission, top secret flight mission.
That's going to make that'll make for another movie. Another awesome film.
Oh, my God. Top secret.
Top secret.
Voyage to the bottom. That was the top secret nuclear submarine, remember? Government submarine went and got sea monsters and things. A top nuclear sub.
Yeah. That'd be a great...
So you see how that fits into what I'm doing in these films. And so these films, particularly Marilyn Monroe, Marilyn Monroe's universe, Justice League, is tailored around viewers today. So, you look at the viewers today, okay, so what's successful in the box office? What makes a lot of money? Well, you look at Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, Buddy Mine, and those guys, and, people buy it. It's a blockbuster. It goes into the box office in the first weekend, picks up $500 million in ticket sales, right? This is the American market. And so a lot of people, and viewers these days, they may not know my Monroe from 50 years ago, right? These kids or whatever, people buy tickets and movies.
But I think that they might. I mean, she's still an actual iconic person that are on memes. She's on posters. She's still a name that people know. I think that the next few generations are going to always know about her. She was... But, David, because you created a radio show using Marilyn Monroe show. And talk about your show. I'd love to tell the audience what you do with your radio show.
Oh, you mean my television program? Television program, the Marilyn Monroe Show, is on a global distribution television network. It's just not a podcast on social media where you get a couple of thousand views or something. This is a global distribution network that's run by Parliament up in Canada, and they have certificates from the Queen of Canada. They have certificates from the Queen of England, and it's parliamental people. I met Jesse through some co-producers at the Oscars Luxury Gala viewing I met a couple of years ago. Crystal Starnes, my co-producer, who I did an interview of the legacy of Marilyn Monroe that you can watch if you go to the Crystal Starnes show. And you can watch that. So I met her, and, we went to the Oscars and sat down with a bunch of great people. Don the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock, they came out and got me and brought me over their table and that, Master Harold Diamond passed away, on May the 7th, 2024. And that's actually a murder that's under investigation. He was murdered, and we're going to get to the bottom of that as well. So, and so I'm sitting at, in the famous stick fight scene, across Sylvester Stallone, and Rambo 3. Yeah, and Universal Soldier was Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren and those guys, yeah. And so Harold was a legend, and he was like a father to me, I could call him up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he'd hop up and get right on the phone with me. And so in his last days, before he was found dead, presumably, arms were flailing, and, he was trying to contact me on Messenger, and I could see him, but I couldn't hear him. He was trying to tell me something, and then the next day he was found dead. So, And so, we're going to make a point of that and investigate that project. My late master, like a father to me, Harold Diamond. Martial art just isn't, self-defense and fighting and things. It's about being friends with people. It's about being real. It's about being true. It's about helping people. Yeah. You can be a martial artist in any aspect of that, and help people. And Harold did. A lot of people didn't like him because he was a Chippendales dancer. All the women liked him. He was great on set. He helped a lot of people, and, consequently people were jealous, and, because they weren't on our level, man, they weren't on Harold's level. Harold was, Congo Del MMA, the Diamond way. He did it his own way, and nobody could beat him. He had like over 400 professional fights. I think he told me, he says, Dave, I lost one when I was a kid or something way back, when I was like 15 years old or something, like or something. And so, Harold had 400 fights, undefeated, and now he's dead. So, that's been tough on me, to lose him because he was my go-to guy. We talked every day, 4 or 5 times a day, man, and now he's gone, and so, yeah. So, we'll investigate, his murder, and a great deal. So those guys were starving him out down there in Thailand. He had no running water in his house. We were supposed to do a podcast together. These guys, had his money and were ripping him off and, wouldn't give his money to even get a headset or get his, get his laptop up so we could do our podcast. We were going to do a podcast. It was going to be the Monroe Diamond Show. And so, I'm starting to pop this off with Harold, and all of a sudden he's dead. Okay, so, anyway,
that's really sad. Now, David, you're living in California, and you had actually experienced some of those fires.
I did, I actually, and so in the fire up here in Pasadena and Altadena, the place I was staying, I got burned down. And so I had worked my butt off, man, as a starving actor to save every penny I could to get this old BMW 740IL, 1993. And so it needed a fuel pump. and we couldn't get it at Ticket Park because it was an old model, so we had to have it. Had to import it from Germany. So I'm waiting on this part to come in for my car that's parked in my mechanic's driveway, and his house gets torched with my car and a couple of other his customers' vehicles and things out there in his driveway. And so, that's tough. Laptops and cinematography equipment in the trunk and things, and it was supposed to be like a 24-hour fix, right? You get parts, throw a fuel pump in there, boom, good to go, right? That wasn't the case, Unfortunately, I got crossed out by the fires, and what I had worked for,
How's this working its way back? Is it starting to get better? Things getting better for the town? For the people that were burned out. So a lot of people lost lives and homes and everything.
They tell me, I've contacted some of those insurance agencies and things, and they told me, and they said, Dave, well, you just rented a place, and, you got nothing coming. You didn't own a house that got burned down. You just rented a place. So, you ain't got nothing coming, dude. And so, I've contacted 3 or 4 of them, and they're like, yeah, you ain't got nothing coming, dude.
Well, they rent places to live. I mean, that's...
Well, out here in California, the rents are outrageous, man. A studio apartment runs you an average of $1,700, $2,500 a month, depending on what area you want to live in. If you want to live in the hood, or for $1,700, or you want to, and so you're paying $500 a week just to have a roof over your head. In California, is where the rentals, everything's out here, man. It's crazy.
It should be going down instead of way up. People can't afford that. That's a hard life for somebody, especially the older you get, trying to survive as you get older. I mean, things should be getting easier, not tougher. I don't get it. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, if we can make some of these films and things, we'll have millions of dollars, and we won't have anything to worry about, with this economy. Sooner or later, if we keep pushing, someone will come along and buy my films. And say, Dave, we want to make these.
Make you.
Want to make these films.
You never know, because I think a lot of people like what you do. They like the horror. They like the scary, macabre, monster stuff. If it weren't for horror, there would be no FX. There wouldn't be no need for it. For the FX artists to make money, for the, fake blood supply. It is what it is. I mean, everybody still loves horror, though, so.
Jim Kent used to live in a tent behind the Hollywood Bowl for 5 years. Yeah, and he kept going down to the Comedy Store and showcasing himself, and these comedians were like, hey, Jim, we got this project called In Living Color. You want to be a part of it?
Oh, yes.
And so he went from a on the Hollywood Bowl for 5 years to a $25 million contract overnight. So that's the magic of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I tell you, George Clooney is in my network, right? Erin Gavin is old lady, right? And she's done Marilyn on stage a bunch of times, right? George Clooney used to live in a tent behind Warner Brothers Studios when he was working on ER. And so he used to dress up in a Batman's uniform and drive all the other cast and crew bananas. Until one day, the director of the Batman trilogy walked right up to George in his tent in Johnny Carson Park. And he says, George, you want to be Batman so bad? You got it. So he went from a tent to a $25 million role tonight. And I'll tell you another thing, Fox. He's a little guy, right? So, and in Burbank, predominantly, a very high policed area, in front of Warner Brothers Studios, he was scared. He was homeless too. He was scared. And so he slept in a dumpster behind Popeye's Chicken across from Warner Brothers Studios. And we used to wake him up in the morning by throwing chicken at him. Another true story, yeah. He was scared, little guy, fuck, I'm gonna, weather or whatever, I'll just sleep in the dumpster over here. And where is he at now today? He made a multi-million-dollar career in acting, And so and so Brad Pitt. Okay, so Brad Pitt slept in his car and did background for like 20 films or something. And he used to parade around in an El Pollo Loco chicken suit on Hollywood and Vine, promoting El Pollo Loco chicken. And so you see where we come from in Hollywood, the best of the best of the best have always been all the way on the bottom. Yeah, all those A-listers that make $25 billion, they were homeless, all of them.
Isn't that?
I cite over and over how many of these different cats that are making.
They got humble beginnings.
Different countries and things.
Yeah, I like that they have humble beginnings, and they actually made a dream come true, because that was their dream, to be in theater, acting, in movies. They made that dream happen. There was a no quit in the words, I can't do it. They can do it. So. Well,
Deborah, my grandfather's actor, Taylor, she went up for the role of Cleopatra. And they told her she was too fat. They weren't going to hire her. And so she called my grandpa. My grandpa called those filmmakers and said, Elizabeth Taylor's my actor guy. She gets the role. And that's how she got the role. And then, so later on, my script supervisor, Renee Glynn, most credited script supervisor in British film history. She did Chuck Norris's Delta Force 1, Delta Force 2, Beverly Hillbillies, The Love Boat, remember that? And so, it ended up, she was the script supervisor in Cleopatra. She passed away. I think she was 92 or 93 or something. Gosh, I just met her before she passed away. What a great lady, man. And wow. She was so excited. And we met, and and then she passed away.
Well, sad. We're running out of time, and I want to know a little bit more about where can people get in touch with you to help you with some of these projects, some of these filming movie projects, because there's so many talented people out there. I think that it would be fantastic if they connect with you to be part of your working projects.
And so, you can reach out to me. You can Google me at David Peace Monroe. David Peace, and then Monroe, my stage name, like my aunt. And you can catch me on Facebook, David Peace Monroe. You can also look up my humanitarian project, which is http /visionforearth.org. My family's legacy is dedicated to restoration and preservation of our life-giving planet and its animals. And you can check that out. My grandfather was legendary offset in the design and creation of the Shambhala Wildlife Preserve for the actress Tippi Hedren, Melanie Griffith's mother, Kevin Costner's ex-wife, some of my extended family. Takes about $1 million a year to run that project up there. I think it's like $20,000 a week or something for the cats and things up there. So, she's got a tremendous project up there. That was my grandmother's best friend. She used to take us there when we were kids after church on Sundays. We go, me and Melanie Griffith running around our diapers together. So, you want to check out Shambhala, what my grandfather did. Captain America, Planet of the Apes, Tor, Love is Many Thing, The Invisible Man.
He's every Sunday.
It's legendary. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Top Secret Nuclear Submarine, and all these great films and old school sci-fi tactical effects that we're the godfathers of, and the godfathers of Marvel Universe. So yeah, you can find me at David Peace Monroe on Facebook. Check out my Go ahead.
Your radio show your TV show on Sundays.
Oh yeah, and so that's the Marilyn Monroe Show on Just TV with your host David Peace Monroe. You can tune into, it's an internet platform, and it's on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, Android TV, and the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada, a tremendous project with global distribution. You can tune in and type in, just Google jessfm.ca, www.jessfm.ca, or ssh101.com. And the NCG Television Network and tremendous project with global distribution.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to have you back on. Everybody, that's our show for today. Please check out David's show. Check out the movies. And thank you so much for coming and listening to us today. Have a great day.